Okay. So in the last session, we saw about subnetting, right? What is subnetting? And with subnets, how do we calculate the uh, subnet bits and the host bits, and how many total subnets are there, and how many total hosts per subnet are there, right? This is what we saw in last class. So in continuation with that, and today will be the last session on the IPv4 subnetting. Let's discuss something else as well. So in two sessions before, right, we saw how to find out a network ID and a broadcast ID, where it was a very simple address mask, right? Where in the address mask there was only 255. So for example, 170 172.16.8.13, right? And the address mask is 255.255.0.0. If this is the address mask, we know how to find out the network ID. All we need to do is wherever there is 255, copy that value down as such, 172.16, and wherever there is 0, write down 0. So this becomes your network ID, right? Then the broadcast ID would be convert these zeros to 255, right? This is your broadcast ID. So this was a very simple address mask. And we know that in reality, we may not find such simple address mask in real time, right? And also in real time, we may not have calculator at hand. In internet, you can find subnet calculators. It will exactly tell you how many subnets are there, how many hosts are there, what is the network ID, what is the broadcast ID, etc. Everything. But if in situations where you need quick calculations and you do not have time to go on the internet and find out the broadcast ID, network ID, subnet ID, etc., and all, you should be able to calculate the network ID and broadcast ID. Now, as I said, till now we saw the calculation of network ID and broadcast ID with the simple address mask, where in address mask you only have 255, right? And as I said, in real time, these 255 may not be there. You may find address like 255.255.192.0. Right? In such situations, what will be the network ID and what will be the broadcast ID? We should be able to calculate these things as well. Right? And these are I call them as easy masks because they're easy to calculate. And these kind of address mask where a number is other than 255, I called it as a difficult mask. Right? Simple, easy mask and difficult mask. Now for difficult masks scenario, how can you calculate the network ID and the broadcast ID is what we are going to look at in today's class. So over here, let's see one of the examples and try to understand what is the significance of these network ID, subnet ID, broadcast. We saw a small part in yesterday's session in the end, but today we'll be able to understand it even better. So over here, you can see the the IP address is 172. Let me write that down. 172.16.150.41. 172.16, 150.41. 150.41. And the address mask is 255, 255, 192. So 255.255.192.0. This is the address mask. Right. Now, in interviews or in CCNA exams, right, they may ask you a question like this. Find out the find out the subnet ID and find out the broadcast ID. And in which subnet does it belong? There you may find such questions. Which subnet does it belong to? First subnet, second subnet, third subnet, fourth subnet, etc. So with this calculation that I am going to tell you, you will be able to understand all this concept, how to find out the subnet ID and what is the real meaning of subnet. You will be able to understand that meaning as well. Where does the subnet start? Where does the subnet end? How many subnets are there? And in each subnets, how many hosts are there? You can calculate all that. Okay. So in yesterday's class, we found we understood the calculation of finding out the number of subnets and number of hosts per subnet, right? And in today's class, we will be able to even go deeper into that, right? So let's start. Here is a IP address and here is the address mask. Our task is to find out the subnet ID and the broadcast ID for this particular IP address. Okay, so let's do that. So we know that to find out the network ID, all we need to do is wherever there is 255, write down that value 172.16, and wherever there is 0, write down 0. Right now, the third octet in address mask is 192. Correct? It is 192. Now, I call this part as the difficult part or the difficult mask, because if it was 255, right, here instead of 192, if it was 255, okay, I could have just simply copied 150 and this would have been your network ID for this IP address, meaning that this IP address would start from 150.0 and it will go up till 41 and then it will go up till 255, right? So this is how you calculate the easy mask where only 255 is there. But in this example, it's not 255, it is 192. So in such scenarios, what can you do? You cannot write down 150 as such. So for this, what you can do is take this difficult mask, okay, that is 192. Subtract it with 256. 256. Now you may ask why 256. The reason is our our subnet mask starts from 0 and it goes up till 255, right? With an 8-bit octet. With an 8-bit octet, you can only have numbers starting from 0 and it can go up till 255. So including 0 and 255, the total is 256, right? That is why we are subtracting this difficult number with 256, or you can call it as a magic number, 256. Okay, so let's subtract. We have 4 and 6. Okay, so we get the remainder as 64. Okay, please remember this step. So the first step is to subtract this difficult number in the octet by 2 from 256. You get the remainder as 64. Now, the next step, second step, is to write this remainder number, right? This remainders number, write down the multiples of 64. Whatever remainder you get, here we got the remainder as 64. In some other subnet mask, you may get some other remainder. Okay, so but we'll talk about other subnet masks later. But from this perspective, from this question's perspective, the remainder is 64. Write down the multiples of 64 starting from 0, okay, and up till 256, because in an 8 bits number, your number will start from 0 and it will go up till 256. Okay, so write down the multiples of 64 starting from 0, right, then 64, then 128, then you have 128, 8,
192.
192, right? 192 and yeah, okay. Now, where are you going to stop? Are you going to write all the multiples of this number up till 256, not needed. Where will you stop? Okay, so first step is to get the remainder. Second step to write that remainders multiples. Then the third step in the IP address. In the IP address, we are looking for 150. Where is 150 in between these remainders? The 150 comes in between 128 and 190, 192. Correct? Your 150 a number, right? It comes between 128 and 192. Okay. Now the third step is find out which is the least number of these two. Which is the least number of these two? Is the least number of 128 and 192, which is least 128, right? So here least, third part is find out the least number, that is 128. 150 is between 128 and 192, and between 128 and 192, 128 is the lower number or the least number, right? So that is 128. Now this least number is what you are going to write over here, 128.0. This becomes your network ID. This becomes your network ID. All right. Then second, we still have to find out the broadcast ID. We still have to find out the broadcast ID. What is going to be the broadcast ID? Right. Now we wrote these multiples, right? We found the least number, that is 128. We found the maximum number, 192. Right. Subtract -1 by the larger number. So you get 191. So your broadcast ID is going to be 172.16.191 and convert this 0 to 255. This is your broadcast ID. This is your broadcast ID. To find out the network ID, the lower number in the range becomes your network ID. The broadcast ID is the higher number -1. The higher number -1, right? That is your broadcast number. And wherever there is 0, that is convert that to 255. This is your broadcast ID. Now, your IP address 172.16.150.41 lies between these two range. Okay, so this IP addresses network ID or subnet starts at 172.16.128.0. Give me a minute. So your network ID for that particular address starts at 172.16.128.0. Okay, and ends at 172.16.191.255. And our IP address 172.16.150.41 is between these two IP addresses. So for this IP address with the address mask of 255.255.192.0. Okay. In yesterday's session, we tried to find out the prefix. Prefix is total number of ones. So here you have 8 number of ones. Here also you have 8 number of ones. And here you have 2 ones, right? So 8 plus 8, 16 plus 2 is 18. So you can write this also as /18. 172.16.150.41/18. With this address mask and this IP address, this is your IP address range or subnet range. Subnet range. Now, what is the significance of this? Whatever we calculated, what does it give us? What other information does it give? Okay. So, first thing, what is the use of this multiple? You may ask me, what is the use of this multiple? This multiple that we wrote of 64 is giving us different set of subnets. So my first subnet for this IP address starts from 172.16.0.0, okay, 0.0, and it goes up till 172.16.63.0. This is my first subnet. The second subnet starts at 172.16.64.0 and it goes up till 172.16.127.255. Right? This is my second subnet. The third subnet starts at 172.16.128.0, third, and it goes up till 172.16.191.255. Like this, you can calculate the fourth subnet, fifth subnet, sixth subnet, like that, based on the multiples that we got over here. So when you're writing these multiples, you're not only calculating the subnet range of the IP address that is asked to you, but also you're able to calculate different subnet ranges. So if anyone asks you, right, they may ask you this question. You have an IP address 172.16.150.41. 172.16.150.41. What is the 10th IP? What is the 10th IP in the second subnet for this IP address? They may ask you a question like this. What is the 10th IP of the second subnet? The calculation remains the same. Okay. Who are there? Vivek, right? So Vivek, do one thing. Give me an IP address and a random address mask. Let's calculate the 10th IP address in the second subnet for that address.
Okay. Okay.
Give me a random IP address. 10 dot, yeah.
12.92.
Okay. IP address mask.
255. 255. 255. .240.
Okay. Now again, depending on your address mask, subnets will vary. Okay. So when I say second subnet 10th IP, again, it completely depends on the IP address. Let me try to find out if I have a second subnet and a 10th IP address. Let's try to find that out. So you gave me the IP address 255.255.255.240. Okay. Now let's find out the network ID for this. So the first step is wherever there is 255, write down that value 10.10.12. Right. Now we have 240 over here, right? So 240 is a difficult mask. So the first step is calculate the remainder, right? So to calculate the remainder, we will do 256 minus 240. What do we get? 16. Okay, so this is our first step. Second step, write down the multiples of 16 starting from 0. 0, 16, 32. 32 plus 16 gives us
48, sir.
48. 48 plus 16 gives us 58 plus 6 is 14.
64, na?
64, yeah. 64 plus 16 gives us 6 plus 4.
80, sir.
1080.
80.
Yeah, 80. And we
96.
need one more 96. Okay, yeah, that's done. Why are we stopping at 96? Because corresponding to 240 is a 92 value. And 92 comes in between 80 and 96. Okay. So for this subnet, the network ID is going to be 80. 80. 10.10.12.80. What is the broadcast ID? Our 92 is between 80 and 96. So out the lower number of these will be the network ID, right? Now, the broadcast is one less than the next number or the larger number. So 10.10.12.95 is your broadcast ID. So with this, you can easily understand a network ID is not necessary that it has to be 0. A broadcast ID is not necessary, it has to be 255. Here, this is a network ID. This is a network ID where it is 80. This is a broadcast ID where it is 95. Both of them are non-usable IP address for this particular address mask. For this particular address mask, they are non-usable IP address. And you can see, even though they are network ID and broadcast ID, it's not 0 and 255. So coming to my question, find out the 10th IP in the second subnet. This is our first subnet starting at 0, right? And it ends at 15. This is our first subnet. Second subnet will start at 16 and will end at 31, right? So between 16 and 31. So the IP address would start from 10.10.12.16. Then the 10th IP address, right? 10th, that is plus 10 gives us 26. So the 10th IP address in the second subnet is going to be 10.10.12.26 slash, this is 8 plus 8 plus 8, 24, 240 is 128, 192, 224, 244. Okay, 24 slash 28. This is slash 28. So this is your 10th IP address in the second subnet. Any question or a problem understanding? How did we calculate this?
No, sir.
Clear? Now, to visually understand this, we open up. So we did this question, right? First, 172.16.150.41, right? Now, let's go over here. So when we calculated 64 as the remainder, so our first subnet will start from 0 and it will go up till 63. Second subnet starts at 64, will go up till 127. Then the third subnet will start from 128. It will go up till 191. Right? And you can clearly see here, it is mentioned. This is what we just calculated. Right?
Right, sir. Sir, the last my question is that whenever we will make that block, okay? So let's assume that the block will be 0 to 5, sorry, 0 to 6, then 7 to 10. Let's assume, okay? So we need to perform minus 1.
Sorry. Repeat your question.
We have to make a block, right? That the 0 to 64, then 64 to 128, okay?
Yes.
So let's assume that we are making block of 10 I2, 0 to 10, 11 to 20, then 21 to 30, okay? So now we need to minus 1 from the last digit, right?
Correct. That will be a broadcast ID.
Okay, thank you. That is my question.
Okay. So over here, we are finding the network ID in the third octave. We are finding the broadcast ID in the third octave. Right. And you can see 0 is converted to 255. And in our question, we just did this, that 172.16.150.41 lies in the third subnet, is somewhere over here between 128 and 191. This is what we find out. And let's see over here. See, I've shared this PDF. You can check page number 14 for CCNA volume 1. We can see this IP address is in the third subnet. And the third subnet starts at 128 and ends at 191. And here is our IP address. It starts at 172.16.128.0 and ends at 172.16.191.255. Right. After this, the fourth subnet will start from 172.16.192.0. This is the network ID for this subnet. Broadcast ID would be something else, right? This is 64. Add 64, 4 plus 2, 6, and 6, 256. 256 basically cannot be there, so it's going to be 255.255. So 172.16.192.0, 172.16.255.255 is your broadcast ID for the fourth subnet. All right, clear? Any question? All right. Now, let's try to solve few more questions using this same method. Okay, so the first one, 10 dot, let me so the first one, we'll try to solve the first one. Okay, the IP address is 10.77.55.3. Okay, the address mask is 255.248.0.0. Right. To find the network ID, all we got to do is wherever there is 255, copy that value down. Right. Wherever there is 0, just write 0. So a difficult number is 248. So the first step, subtract 256 by 248. Okay, so you get 8, right? You get 8.
Yes, sir.
Am I right? Now, the second step, to write the multiples of 8. 0, right? So I wrote 10 multiples of 8. Okay. Now, third step is find out where this number, not this number, sorry, this number 77. Where is 77 lying between the two numbers? 77 lies between 72 and 80, right? Out of these two numbers, which is the least number? Our 77 is over here. Which is the least number between 72 and 77? 72. So this becomes your network ID for that subnet. Then what is the broadcast ID? Out of these two, which is the larger number? 80 is the larger number.
-1.
-1.
79.
So 10.79, correct, dot 255.255 is your broadcast ID. Is your broadcast ID. So let's check the answer. 10.72.0.0. This is what we found. 10.72.0.0 is our network ID, not network ID, subnet ID. Broadcast ID, let's check that. 10.79.255.255. Did we calculate it correctly? Yeah. 10.79.255.255 is our broadcast ID. Again, like, let's go a bit more depth into it. Same question, 10.77.55.3 and that same address mask. Let's go beyond. Let's try to solve a bit more. The question now says, first, question number 1, first is, what is the prefix length? Prefix length meaning number of ones. Number of ones. First. Second question. Okay. How many subnet bits are there? Subnet bits. Subnet bits and total number of subnets. Third, host bits. Host bits and total number of hosts per subnet. Total number of hosts per subnet. Okay, these are the 3 parts that we need to find out after this. So over here, let's try to find out the prefix length. Prefix length is the number of ones. And how can you find that out? With your address mask itself, you can find that out. What is the number of ones? So 255 has 8 number of ones and 248 has 224, 240, 248, 5, if I'm not wrong. 128, 192, 224, 240, 248. Yeah. So we have total 5. Okay. And if you're guessing or if you're wondering, how am I finding that value? Let's go back to our table. This table. Okay, you will have to memorize this table. So 248 had 5 number of ones. 255 has 8. So 8 plus 5 gives us 13. Okay, so this value is, so you have 8 ones plus 5 ones. That is your prefix length or prefix length, basically the number of ones. So 8 plus 5, you have 13 ones. Okay, so you have 13 ones. We find that out. The first is we have 13 ones. So the answer is 13. Now with this, in yesterday's class, we saw the calculation. So total number of ones is called as prefix, that is 13. Now this IP address belongs to class A. If it belongs to class A, how many network bits are there? There are 8 network bits, correct? And the subnet bits are P minus N. If you do not know this calculation, please go back to the recording from yesterday's class. You'll be able to understand this. Right. So 13 minus 8, we have 5 subnet bits. 5 subnet bits. Right. So the total number of subnet is 2 power S, gives us 2 power 5 subnets. So 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. So we have 32 subnets in total. And in our calculation over here, how many subnets we already found? This is first subnet, second, third, fourth, fifth subnet, 4. Yeah, between 40 and 48, you have 6, 7, 8, 9. This is the 10th subnet. You can see the 77. This IP address belongs in the 10th subnet. 10, then you have 11. Like that, you have 32 such subnets. You have 32 such subnets. And in each of these subnets, how many hosts are there? Okay, so you have p bits or the total number of ones as 13, and we know that our IP address is 32 bits long. So, and our IP address consists, or the IP address mask consists of only ones and zero. So you already have 13 number of ones. So the remaining should be zeros, right? And zeros are calculated as the host bits. So 32 minus 13. So you have 19, right? If I'm not wrong, 19. Let me again. Yep. Okay. So you have 19 host bits. So total number of hosts is 2 power h minus 2. That gives us 2 power 19 minus 2 hosts per subnet. Per subnet. Meaning that you, in the first subnet, you have 2 power 19 minus 2 hosts. In the second subnet also you have 2 power 19 minus 2 hosts. The third subnet also you have 2 power 19 minus 2 hosts. Fourth subnet also you have 2 power 19 minus 2 hosts. Okay, so like this, you need to calculate the number of hosts, number of host bits, number of subnet bits, and with just one single calculation, that this finding out the multiples, we did so many things. We found out how many subnets are there, where is this subnet starting, where is this subnet ending. If someone asks you, tell me the fifth IP address in the 28th subnet, you can still find that out using this simple calculation. Okay, let's try to solve one more, and I'll leave up to you guys to tell me or ask me any questions. Let's solve the fourth one. Fourth one is 1077.314. 1077.314. 1077.314, and the address mask is 255.255.128.0. 255.255.128.0. Correct. Now, first, let's calculate the number of ones. First, the prefix length, basically the number of ones in the address mask. So you have 255, meaning 8 ones, plus 255, you have 8 ones, plus 128, that is 1. Just 1. So you have 17. Basically, this is a /17 address mask. /17. Okay. The next. Okay. Find out the network bits. How many network bits are there? Network bits. How many network bits are there? We know that this is a class A IP address. So obviously your network bits is going to be 8. Okay. Third, find out the subnet bits. Okay. Subnet bits is calculated like P minus N. That is P, we already know 17. 17 minus 8. You get 9. Okay. So you have 9 subnet bits, meaning these 2 octets are subnet bits, not the network bits, subnet bits, right? So you have subnet bits as 9. So you found out these things. Then find out the host bits. How many host bits are there? We know that the total number of bits in an IP address is 32, and we already have 17 number of ones, right? We have 17 number of ones. So in total, we have 15 host bits. Okay, we have 15 host bits. I'm not wrong, 7 plus 5. Yeah, 15 host bits. Okay. Now, fifth total number of subnets is basically 2 power s, that is 2 power 9, gives us 512 subnets. Then sixth total number of hosts per subnet, that is 2 power h minus 2, gives us 2 power 15 minus 2. I'm not going to calculate that. 2 power 15 minus 2 hosts per subnet. So each of these 512 subnets, each 512 subnets will have 2 power 15 minus 2 hosts. Okay, so let's calculate that and let's see is it really going that. So you have 10, 77, 340. Okay, 10, 77, 314, 255.255.128.0. So wherever there is 255, copy that value down, and wherever there is 0, write that value as 0. Now 128. So I think I made some mistake somewhere. Yeah, okay. So you will have 512 subnets. Yeah, okay. Now, all right. So our value is 128. Magic number 256 minus 128, right? Again gives us 128. Easy, right? We don't have to do a lot of math over. So this was the first step. Second step, to write the multiples of 128. 0, 128, and 256. Okay. And the 3 over here in the IP address lies between 0 and 128. So the network ID is going to be 10.77.0.0. This is going to be your network ID. And the broadcast ID is going to be 10.77.127.255 is going to be a broadcast ID. Now you may ask me, sir, you said we calculated 512 subnets, but here there are only 2 subnets, 0 to 127, then 128 to 256. There are only 2 subnets. Remember, we are calculating from 10.77. Okay, sorry, 10.0.0.0. Okay, we have subnets before this thing also. We have subnets before 77 also. We have subnets before 77 also, meaning 10.76.0.0. Okay, you have 76, you have 75, you have 74. Even after 77, you have 78, 79, 80, etc. Like that, you have, and in each, for 77, you have 2 subnets. For 78, you have 2 subnets. For 79, you have 2 subnets. Before 77, you had 76. For 76, you had 2 subnets. 75, you have 2 subnets. So in total, you have 512 subnets. And in each of these subnets, you have 2 power 15 minus 2 hosts included there. Clear? Any question or a problem understanding?
No.
Okay.
और भी है
Okay.
कृष्णन सर भी अपने सर कृष्णन
Hey,
सर
hi Krishan. Hi Krishan. How are you? Okay. So what I'll do is I've already shared the PDF. Okay, I have already shared this PDF. Do you have the PDF, Vivek? Krishan, do you have the PDF of these two volumes?
which one sir that that last week document you mentioned to download that one
Yes,
yeah that we have
you have, right? Okay. So if you want to practice this, go to page number okay. Go to page number. What page number is this? Page number is not mentioned. 257. Yeah. Go to page number 336. Okay. Go to page number 336 of volume 1. Okay. You will find this problem. Try to solve this. Try to find out the subnet ID. Try to find out the broadcast ID using the method which I told you. And you will be able to solve any question that is asked in interview or any question that is asked in your ccna exam. And this is the easiest way of finding out these IP addresses and understanding the subnet map. All right. Any question, or do you want to discuss anything on IPv4 subnetting, or any question that was asked to you? Or let's try to solve few questions from the internet. Okay, give me. Let's try to solve few questions from the internet. IPv4 subnetting questions. Okay, so here, what is the subnet mask corresponding to a shorthand of /18? /18. Okay, and we just stop for /18. What is it basically asking? It is asking how many number of ones are there. How many number of ones are there in /18? So in order to remember that, we have to remember this table. Okay, /18. Okay, it means 255.255, right? Gives us 8. We can only have 8 bits in one octet, right? So 255, that is 8. Then another 255, that is 8, gives us 16. Plus 2 will give us a total of /18, right? So this is 255.255, and how for 2, which is the number 192. 192. Okay, so what is it asking? What is the subnet mask corresponding to a shorthand of /18? So we will write 255.255.192.0. Submit. Let's check. The answer is correct. Okay. Any problem understanding this part? How did we get 192.0?
No, sir. Which URL is this? Subnetting.net. Okay.
I just did a Google.
Okay.
Next question. Enter the last valid host on the network that the host this is part of. This is part of. Let me copy that and paste it in our notepad. Right? Oh, just copying here. So it says 10.13.95.55/20. /20 mean 8 in the first octet, 8 in the second octet, and 20. So we need 4 more bits, right? So 128, 192, 224, 240. So 255.255.240.0 is the address mask. What is the question? It says enter the last valid host on the network. Okay, so it is saying what is the valid host, whichever subnet that this IP address belongs to, what is the last valid host? Okay, so again, our subnetting math comes into picture. Okay, so first find out the network ID. Find out the network ID. Wherever there is 255, copy that value 13 dot, and wherever there is 0, just write that value down. The difficult mask is 240. So the first step, 256 minus 240 gives us 16, right? Then write the multiples of 16. 0, 16, 32, 48, 64, 80, then 96. Right, got it. Is my calculation right? 16 plus 16, 32 plus 16, 48, 64, 80. Yeah, okay, 96. Now, why did we stop at 96? Because 95 comes in between 80 and 95, 80 and 96. So our network ID is whichever is lower number of 80 and 96. 80 is the lower number, so this becomes a network ID. The broadcast ID is going to be 10.13.96 minus 1, 95.255. This is the broadcast ID. So any number between these two addresses, are a valid IP addresses. Why are they valid? Because these two, network ID and the broadcast ID, we cannot assign it to someone. That is why they are not valid. So what is the question? The question asks, what is the last valid host of this network? So what will be the last valid IP address in this host? That is going to be 10.13.95.254. This is going to be the last valid host for this IP address. Let's check that. 10.13.95.254. 10.13.90. 95.254. Submit. Check the answer. See, correct. Any problem understanding what we did? Vivek, Prashant?
No, sir. Actually, these need to practice. Then only.
Yeah.
Abhi kaisa?
Yes, absolutely right.
Sir,
Next
I have one
question.
question. The question is that suppose as a you are interviewer, okay, and you are asking me question or anyone question. So definitely we can like calculate this in notepad or on the handbook, right? It's
Yes,
not
yes.
like that we need to
Yeah, yeah.
like
No, no. The interviewer will give you time to calculate.
okay.
Okay. So next is enter the valid host range for the network that the IP address this belongs to. Okay, so let's copy this. So we have to find out the IP address range. It's very simple. Whatever the net, we basically is asking us to find out the network ID and broadcast ID. Okay, with the valid IP address range. So network ID +1 is the first usable IP address. Broadcast ID -1 is the last usable IP address. That is what it is asking us. (172.31.30.181) 255.255.255.224. Okay, so network ID, wherever there is 255, just write that down. 172.31.30. Next, 224. So first step, 256 minus 224. Okay, gives us 32. Second step, write down the multiples of 32. 0 till 181. We have to go till there. Oh my god. 32. 64 ये बहुत लंबा जाएगा. 64 32. I'm weak at math, sorry, so I'm just opening up the here. Okay, so 32, 64, 96, 128. What is the R 181? 181 lies between 160 and 192. 181 lies between 160 and 192. Obviously, so the lower number is going to be the network ID. Okay, and the broadcast ID is going to be 192 minus 1, 1 less than the larger number. Okay, 1 less than the larger number is going to be your broadcast ID. So 172.31.30.191 is going to be your broadcast ID. Now, what is the question? The question says, which is the first usable host? So we will write 172.31.30.161. 161. Network ID we cannot use, broadcast ID we cannot use. So network ID +1 and 191 broadcast ID -1 is the last usable IP address. So 172.31.30.190 is the last usable IP address. Submit. And let's check the answer. Submit. Show answer. Okay, that is also not working. Yep, our answer is correct. First host 172.31.30.161. Last is 172.31.30.190. Okay, so with this method, whatever I taught you right now, with this method, you can answer any question regarding subnetting. What is the first usable IP address? What is the last usable IP address? Right? What is the range? Right? What is the what is the 10th IP address in the 5th subnet? or what is the first IP address in the last subnet, etc. Any question, any such kind of questions, you can answer using that method. Clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. So with this, we have come to a conclusion on IPv4 subnetting.